He was in air conditioning, having fun, drinking and gambling, while his dog suffered.
A Woodburn man now facing multiple charges after allegedly leaving his dog in a hot car, then dumping its body. What we know about the tragic incident.
A vehicle went into the river. 3 people have yet to surface.
Plus, new video showing the moments before a deadly car crash into the Willamette River, killing 3 people. And 2 teens now recovering after a bear attack in the Washington Cascades. What led up to that terrifying incident? Right now at noon, we're tracking red flag warnings for critical fire danger in Central Oregon. Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. I'm Corey Johnson. It's good to be with you. Wildfire season is here, and just yesterday, Governor Tina Kotek declared a state of emergency over what she calls an imminent threat. Now that means the state can move crews, planes, and emergency resources more quickly. And this is a map of active fires burning right now here in Oregon. There are currently 44 wildfires burning with a total of 1,200 acres burned in the state. Now, hot, dry, and gusty conditions prompted red flag warnings east of the Cascades on Tuesday. The biggest blaze, the Tool Fire, has burned 24,000 acres in Yakima County, and the Juniper Dunes Fire has burned 13,000 acres near Pasco. Finally, the Highway 730 fire, which started in Washington but burned into Oregon, has spread to just over 8,000 acres. And closer to home, a brush fire burned about an acre yesterday afternoon in Beaver Creek, and this is near Ridge Road in Upper Highland. Crews from the Department of Forestry and Clackamas Fire got this one under control within a couple of hours, thankfully. And starting today, Vancouver's fire marshal is issuing a ban on all recreational burning. The city says the ban is going into effect because of very dry conditions, low fuel moisture, and ongoing hot weather, which all increase the likelihood of fires. Now, the ban will remain in place throughout the summer and fall or until conditions improve. But keep in mind, under this ban, until it's lifted, you cannot burn recreational fires or bonfires. Campfires, outdoor fireplaces, and fire pits are also not allowed. But you can still use approved natural gas or propane fire appliances, as well as barbecues. Now, also note, you cannot have cooking fires in places like unsanctioned encampments. And as we mentioned, red flag warnings are in effect for Central Oregon for critical fire danger. Meteorologist Rod Hill is standing by on the outdoor weather deck with more.
Yeah, thank you, Corey. Good afternoon to you up here on the weather deck, brought to you by Rick's Custom Fencing and Decking. And all that information Corey just showed you and the 1,400 individual fires burning in Oregon. Now, the good news is, if you do simple math, you quickly figure out that most of those fires are really tiny. So that's good news. The troubling part of the equation is nearly all of those fires have started in the last handful of days, going back to our heat wave when we were totally dry, which means it was some sort of human activity that led to sparks that started the fires, which means we need to find ways to be more careful and more cognizant of what we're doing in terms of potentially throwing out sparks in these dry areas. There's a red flag warning today. It includes the Central Oregon area of Bend, Redmond, and Madras up until 9 p.m. This chiefly issued today for gusty northwest winds to about 40 miles per hour. This map gets back to what I was talking about in terms of the fires themselves being generally quite small. The blue areas are fires that are large enough to be casting some wildfire smoke areas visibly, and there aren't that many of them. The most of the smoke is actually up into the Pendleton area, and that's from that one fire that Corey mentioned with 24,000 plus acres burned. Temperatures are actually running cooler today. Right now in the 60s in Portland. We'll have your complete forecast coming up later in the show. Corey?
All right, Rob, we'll see you in just a minute. Thanks. And we're taking a live look this afternoon from our Visit Seaside camera because the city of Seaside just passed a pretty hefty fine for people found with illegal fireworks. Now, with the 4th of July coming up, city leaders are reminding people that all fireworks are prohibited on Oregon beaches statewide. Illegal fireworks are banned throughout the city, and if you're found with them, you could be fined up to $4,000. Now, Seaside will have an official fireworks show on the holiday, July 4th. Now to a disturbing story out of Marion County, where a man is facing animal neglect charges. This after deputies say he left his dog inside a truck during this week's hot temperatures and the dog died. Now investigators say the dog was left in the vehicle for hours on Sunday outside the Monitor Inn. Now the temperature in Woodburn reached 92 degrees that day. And according to the sheriff's office, the bar's manager says employees later reviewed surveillance video showing a man remove the dog from the truck and dump its body behind the building. Now, the manager contacted authorities who released surveillance images to help identify that suspect. Investigators say 32-year-old Daniel West turned himself in on Tuesday.
He was in air conditioning, having fun, drinking and gambling while his dog suffered. We love animals. We don't leave dogs in hot cars. It's like leaving kids. We don't leave kids in hot cars.
Certainly a heartbreaking story. Now, West is charged with 1 count of first-degree animal neglect. The sheriff's office says a woman who was with him is not currently facing any charges, but the Marion County DA's office is still reviewing that case. And happening tonight, Portland City Council is expected to vote on whether to adopt a new budget. This as the city faces a record $163 million shortfall. Now, if adopted, the new budget would run from July 1st through June 30th. The $8.5 billion budget was tentatively approved in late May after nearly 30 hours of deliberation. And that budget includes several cuts, including to the Portland Police Bureau, though councilors reversed some of those public safety cuts that were part of the mayor's original proposal. Tonight's meeting begins at 6 o'clock. President Trump is holding more meetings today with world leaders at the G7 summit. He's working to sell the framework of a deal with Iran while looking ahead to trying to end the war in Ukraine. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from France.
Hi there. As the summit wraps up here in France, G7 allies, including the U.S., have now signed on to a joint statement pledging tougher sanctions against Russia over the war in Ukraine and praising President Trump's framework for peace with Iran. The president acknowledged today that the memorandum of understanding is not final.
It's a memorandum of understanding. If it doesn't get done in 60 days, that's all right. We go back to bombing. You know, I don't want to do that because it's so good, but we might have to.
On Capitol Hill, even top Republicans say they're yet to be briefed on the deal that President Trump said keeps Iran from ever having a nuclear weapon, does not include U.S. investments in Iran, and guarantees an open, toll-free Strait of Hormuz. Already one tracking site shows average U.S. gas prices dropping below $4 a gallon, though industry experts say shipping won't get back to normal for weeks. And serious questions still have to be worked out in a second phase of negotiations on the details of Iran's nuclear program, plus questions about the status of fighting between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. Still, President Trump is insisting Iran is a done deal, signaling a shift to focusing on Ukraine after meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky on the summit's sidelines and signing on for more support. And President Trump heads next to Versailles for a very special dinner with the President of France. In Evian-les-Bains, France, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Well, here's a look at some national headlines this afternoon. The Gilgo Beach serial killer learned his fate this morning for the killing of 8 women on Long Island. Now, Rex Howerman was sentenced to life in prison without parole for the killings that happened over a 17-year period. The 62-year-old admitted to strangling the 8 victims and dismembering some of them before disposing of their bodies. Now, the first remains of his victims were found in 1993, with other remains discovered up until 2011. Luigi Mangione, the man accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, is moving forward with a psychiatric defense. That's according to the judge overseeing his state murder trial. Mangione's lawyers say they will attempt to show he was suffering from a, quote, extreme emotional disturbance at the time of the shooting. Now, if convicted, Mangione could be sent to a psychiatric facility instead of prison if his attorneys succeed in proving their argument. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges against him.